Yes, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, transfer talk. Not usually in on a Wednesday, but I got a little bit distracted yesterday and didn't manage to get, this video done. So I've come in today to get it done. Normally Wednesdays my days for just disappearing my ass up into the hills and you lot never seeing me or hearing from me. But, you know, I'm here and I will be talking about this absolute wibble which seems to have emanated from Chelsea. Now, I don't doubt that Chelsea want to make this happen. But I think they're the only people on this planet that want to make this happen. But we'll get into it. The first comment there, though, Max Relton, can anyone ever actually name a swap deal that has happened in the past decade? I can. Mkhitaryan and Alexis Sanchez, brother. Should we start there, shall we? And what an absolute clusterfuck that was. If there's ever been a case to just never revisit this ever again, that is it, isn't it? But yeah. Manlade says, won't happen as it'll ruin the Academy PSR bonus. That's another good reason why it wouldn't happen. Tariqul says, rubbish deal, let's move on. Even if we says yes, we should expect a further 30-40 on top of that. Ridiculous. Mogan says, no thank you to Nkunku. We don't need anyone that's injury prone and Chelsea reject overpriced. So what you really think. Stephen Harris says, I've got 5 in the Conference League. I've got 5 in the Conference League and I'm 47 this year. Avoid like the plague. Harris says, Mkhitaryan and Alexis was the most FIFA deal of all time. These swaps hardly ever happen in reality. Correct. Ross says, that was one of the best swap deals Man United have done. Is that because it's the only swap deal that United have won? Greg says, Nkunku was quality for Leipzig. There's a lesson in that. Anyway, let me read that, the official sort of what's going on, in case you've just joined us and you're sitting there going, what are you on about? So, United and Chelsea are reportedly in preliminary talks about a high-profile exchange involving Garnacho and Christopher Nkunku. Right? That is the news. Both players are deemed peripheral, which I think is one way of saying on the exit bus. By their respective managers. Garnacho doesn't fit into Ruben Amorim's system or culture. And Nkunku's struggling for game time at Chelsea. And the thing with Chelsea is that... I'll get into this afterwards, actually. So the swap isn't being officially labelled as such, and the clubs are exploring creative, because of course they are, parallel transfers that would satisfy PSR rules. So it would be like, we'll buy him for 50 million and you buy him for 50 or 60 million or something like that. It's one of those. Because then you get to bank the cash immediately, but then you put the cost of it over the length of that player's contract. So this was like... Oh, Barcelona and Juventus did this, and I've absolutely blanked on who it was they did it with. I can't remember who they did it with, but they basically bought and sold a player for the same price off each other and then got to just blag how they accounted for that. Who was it? Can someone remind me in the comments? Pjanic and Arthur. There we go. Yeah, I knew it happened. So Chelsea are open to this because... they like Garnacho and they missed out on Gittins. United think Nkunku could be a fit for Amorim's system. Again, yeah, Nkunku did do well at Leipzig. I think they did a scout report on him saying that he would have been a decent one for us then. And like I was about to say, Chelsea will have some good players that haven't worked because of reasons that things aren't working at Chelsea in the grand scheme of things. They've not quite got the culture or the balance or stuff right yet. There's some brilliant footballers at Chelsea, and just because that team is struggling at the moment doesn't mean that they're not brilliant footballers. They are brilliant footballers, and if they left, they would go and do bits. The team's dysfunctional. And I think that if they click, and I know that I've said this, someone commented me saying this yesterday, if they click, they'll be a problem. They've got too many good players for it not to work. They just need the right sort of culture and leaders in there that can sort out those individuals, because that's what they've got, into a team, and they'll be a real problem. I mean, they've got like 5 or 6 wingers better than all of United's wingers. Like, simple as that. And yeah, that's someone mentioned there. B King says there, Salah and De Bruyne were Chelsea rejects. Yeah, Chelsea have for the last 20 years, they've just burnt through some incredible footballers that haven't quite worked for them, but they'll figure it out. But yeah, it's one of them. I think. Now, my gut feeling is where this come from was Matt Law, who is a Chelsea guy, tier 1 for Chelsea. That's like Laurie Whitwell saying that something's happening at United. You believe it because he's done his research and he's got the connections. So if Matt Law's coming out and saying it, it's real. The issue that I have here with this is just because it's something Chelsea want to explore doesn't mean it's something Manchester United want to explore. And I would be shocked if United went for this, because this doesn't suit us. I've got no issue with United selling Garnacho to Chelsea, none whatsoever. Whether or not I want to then sign anyone from Chelsea, I would probably bring in Cole Palmer from Chelsea, and there's midfielders and defenders I would look at. And actually, there's wingers if we were going to play a winger system. And I wouldn't be, with what we've got at the moment, Nicholas Jackson wouldn't be a million miles off my list either, to be honest, because I think he would do a pretty serviceable job. But yeah, I wouldn't bring in Nkunku in the current circumstances, and I certainly wouldn't have him instead of Mbeumo. I really wouldn't. Wes says Garnacho going to a team of individuals won't help Chelsea. Correct. That's why I've got no issues with selling him there. Tariqul says Palmer I would love. He's a United fan as well. Simon says, serious question. Why do Chelsea want Garnacho from a tactical fit perspective? I've stopped trying to analyse Chelsea from an outside perspective for the longest time, because I genuinely do not believe that makes any sense ever. I don't think a lot of their transfers have made sense for years. I think a lot of the way that they're operating doesn't make sense. I think they're unpredictable. I think they're wild. I think they are trying to push at the boundaries of gentlemen's agreements and regulations of the sport. And I think they're acting in an entirely unhinged sort of manner in everything that they're doing. So I think that, and this has been them for the last decade, to be honest, they could win a Champions League. They could win the league, but they won't win 2 or 3 on the bounce because they don't have the culture. They could easily hit form and smash anybody in world football. And they could also easily lose to Kim Macclesfield in the FA Cup. Like, all of those things are possible for Chelsea. They're insane. Daniel says that, to be fair, I'd sell him Garnacho, but it'd have to be a huge price. I'd take Nkunku for 20 mil tops. He's injury prone and moving past peak. I would go with that. Samakonda says Rashford has been the chillest out of all the levers so far. I don't know why I put him in the same category as Sancho and Garnacho. I generally agree with that. Imyati says, why would we be being linked with players that don't suit our player profile? I go back to what I just said on this one. I think this is something Chelsea would like to happen. I don't necessarily think that's something United want to happen. I think that's the top and bottom of this one, to be honest with you. Previn says it would make more sense to sell him to a place like Juve, to be honest. Going back to that, someone mentioned, is there any truth to the Vlahovic, Sancho thing? I would absolutely do that. Get rid of Sancho and bring in Vlahovic. There is zero negatives in terms of that for United, which makes me think that it's probably not on the table. Andrew A says Chelsea don't want Garnacho for football. They're still on the shiny thing model of player purchasing. It does feel like that. Detwork says Jonathan David wants a big salary, 250k, not happening. Everybody wants a big salary. Everyone that we're looking at wants a big salary. The fact that he's available for free makes that a better signing than someone who wants £70 million transfer fee and 250 grand a week, though, in my opinion. Shay says Chelsea are the same lot who thought it was a great idea to bring in Sterling and Sancho. There you go. Do you know what it is? I've never really had crazy ex-girlfriends. It's never really been my thing. I don't know if I can smell the crazy on them so far or if I just get mag to grid straight away with them. But I got a lot of mates who have got Not so many anymore, actually, but like growing up, there was some mates whose just their misses were just drama. Everything was a fucking nightmare. Chelsea are that. Chelsea just love the fucking drama, I think. They just love the chase. They're about it, aren't they? That's what they seem like to me. They just, everything, they got to have everything, and everything's a fucking drama. And actually, I think they find peace in the aggro. Not for me. Previn says, this feels like back when Barca wanted Januzaj. I don't remember that. Greg says, if the shit is the fan, Mateta is the one. I actually don't mind Mateta in the slightest. You know, people are like, Manchester United signing mid-players. We've always done our best work signing so-called mid-players, really. I remember the fume at Michael Carrick coming in and being given Roy Keane's number, which probably in hindsight wasn't a good idea. If he'd have given like number 24 or something like that, it'd have been, no one would have cared. But because he got number 16 and he couldn't be any different, he's a defensive midfielder. He plays in Roy Keane's position. He wears Roy Keane's number. He's in his position, and he doesn't play anything like him. And people lost their shit over it. Who had the better potential, Garnacho or Januzaj? Januzaj all day long. All day long. From a footballing perspective, Januzaj had so much more ability. He didn't necessarily have the work rate, but from a footballing point of view, it was Januzaj all day long. Garnacho's got work rate and no brains. Matthew says, I go for Lacazette after being dropped by Leon. Okay, not going to play many 90 minutes, but that experience is worth a year contract. That's not a terrible idea, you know. If he doesn't want bonkers wages and he knows he's coming in to be 15 games a season, something like that. Samaconda says, do I know Muniz makes $8,000 a week at Fulham? Got to be worth a massive shout. $8,000 a week, really? Joey says, Steve, quick question for you. Do I think the wider fan base is contributing to a positive or negative atmosphere around the team or club? Probably negative. I'd love to hear your take on Januzaj and what happened to him at United. So, from what I was told by people that was in the changing room at the time, Louis van Gaal and him didn't jive, or Louis weren't having him. Under Moyes, Januzaj was basically given that sort of, hey, you're a young player, just do whatever, go and enjoy yourself, son. And then tactics was for the rest of the team. And if you go back and watch him, you can kind of see that. There were some brilliant games for him where he sort of floated into the number 10, he just got on the ball, he made things tick, and you could see the potential in him. Then when Louis came in, and Louis, I wouldn't say Louis is like the complete opposite of David Moyes, because they both do like structure, especially when it comes to defensive play. Louis was extremely meticulous to the point where he would stop training sessions and be like, you're 1 foot out of position, move here, stay here. And he was very rigid in what he wanted. And when he was trying to give Januzaj tactical instructions, Januzaj was incapable of following those tactical instructions, which was a bit of a shock to the system from Januzaj, who'd come into first team football and just been told, play what you see, from David Moyes, which was a pretty good way to introduce him into the first team. But ultimately, at some point, you are going to have to take on that tactical responsibility. And then when Louis is trying to feed him quite heavy tactical information, he's just not getting it whatsoever. Yeah, he didn't get it. Therefore, he didn't get it. And Januzaj and Louis didn't see eye to eye because of that. Premise says, found the article, turned down a £40 million bid in 2015. No way. Rusbe says, Arsenal are interested in Sesko, Gyökeres and Taremi for striker position to see United try and steal any of those players from Arsenal. No, maybe we just wait and see who they sign and go after their second or third choices. Andrew says, where do I think Angel Gomez will end up? Wouldn't be surprised if a team like Barca appear. Hasn't he signed for Marseille? I thought he'd signed for Marseille. unless I'm mistaken, but I thought he'd signed for Marseille. Tame says, Januzaj had me thinking we had a regen of Johan Cruyff. Visually, in the face, he did look a lot like Johan Cruyff. In terms of his ability, it was a little bit... I didn't like the little half-and-half Cruyff pictures that people were putting up. But yeah. And Januzaj, once he couldn't get that tactical side of his game, the rest of his game fell to pieces, didn't it? But yeah, in terms of where he was a million miles ahead of Januzaj as a footballer. Sorry, ahead of Garnacho as a footballer. Have we spoken about what the hell Lyon are going through? So, been arguing with people on Twitter. It's not like you. I know it's not like me. Been arguing with people on Twitter this morning, mainly Geordies, because Geordies have just seen what's happening at Lyon and then just fumed at United. So why? What has happened to Lyon? So Lyon are in debt. They're in about half as much debt as Manchester United and a lot less debt than Tottenham are in, right? Which no one ever seems to bring up. Tottenham are in like £800 million worth of debt. Why are Tottenham in debt? Well, they built a new stadium, that's why. And they put it on a credit card. Why are United in debt? United are in debt. Is it because of operating costs? Is it because of buying players that we couldn't afford? Actually, no. We're in debt because of a leveraged buyout that was allowed in 2005 and hasn't been paid off since. And even though we've paid about 1.5 billion in debt and interest and refinancing payments, we still owe roughly the same as what we owed when it was allowed to be leveraged onto the club as part of that buyout by the change of ownership in 2005. No longer legal, no longer a framework that's allowed to be used to buy a football club. Doesn't help or change us what's going on. So why is Lyon's situation different? Well, they're under the Ligue 1 regulations and GNMC, something or other, like, which is basically the French FA's way of operating. They do not allow certain things which are allowed in the Premier League, were allowed in the Premier League, but are no longer allowed in the Premier League. But the fundamental thing here with Lyon is, this is about being able to actually pay your bills. And people just are not getting that. They was asked to submit finances going ahead to next season. They're not allowed to lend any more money to cover their operational costs. So operational costs are things like your tax, your salaries, buying fucking grass feed for your pitch, whatever it might be, paying your fucking lawnmower bills. Lyon's projections shown that they didn't have enough cash to be able to cover wages and tax and blah, 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 right? So they were relegated. Now, they had an action plan supposedly 3-4 months ago, and whatever their action plan was, they couldn't meet it without being able to borrow more. So they've been relegated. I do believe they're still going to be in Europa League, though, even though they're going to be in the second division. I think that's the crack. But yeah, Geordies, not known for their fucking brain cells, obviously, are kicking off, trying to draw parallels to United and the corruption and the red cartel and all that shite. But it is what it is. Fire sale at Lyon, do I reckon? Maybe, yeah, because their revenues are going to go down by being in the second division, second tier. Players will probably want to leave. It could initiate a fire sale. It could, genuinely. Can I explain to me how Ineos are struggling to buy players while they are planning to build a new stadium which costs 100 times more? No, I cannot. I can't. No. That's what didn't make sense to me. When we covered the stadium stuff, we were talking about how are you knocking soup out of people's hands at Carrington with one hand and drawing up plans for a £2 billion best-in-class stadium with the other, unless the stadium is going to be owned by a third party, unless the stadium is a vehicle that facilitates Ineos increasing its stake in Manchester United at the cost of the Glazers. Is there some sort of a arrangement in there that we will fund the stadium cost and that will be us buying you out to the Glazers? Something along those lines. I honestly, I'm not 100% sure. it doesn't make logical sense, or unless there's outside investment that will benefit from, ticket sales, etc. of the new stadium. I don't know. Does that mean another League Two team will be promoted to replace Lyon? Don't know. I literally found out about it as I walked into training last night. I don't know. Do you think United hold out and get a sale for Marcus or loan him to Barca? I don't think he's going to Barca. I honestly really don't know how or where or how we're going to get some of these players moved on. Yeah. Liam says, I think they will sell the stadium naming rights. That seems like a very straightforward win, doesn't it? And that, again, it could be Ineos. It could be the Ineos Old Trafford Arena or some shit like that. Sam Akonda says, I have a vision of Marcus in an Atletico kit next season. Ooh, interesting. Stephen Harris says, did all of the players survive the first pre-season training session? No, they did not. We did have a vomiter at training last night, which tells you that we hit the right balance, didn't it? And when one of the vomiters is a 16-year-old that can run 16-minute 5Ks, who's in pretty good nick, I think we hit the right balance of running and working out. They did manage to play some football last night. I think we got 20 minutes of football in the 2-hour session last night. They did a lot of running. They did a lot of running. It was good. It's one of those. Steven says, that's got to be Noah. Wasn't Noah. Tom says, where do I realistically see each of the 4 wingers we're trying to sell playing next year? Gun to my head, I wouldn't know. I have got video of some of the players in absolute shit state last night. Once I've done this, I'm going to do a reel. So if you want to head over to my Instagram, Mr. Stephen Howson on Instagram, I will post it later. But get in the comments on it and slag them off. Andrew says, when's the video coming out of Jason Wilcox being promoted? I haven't done it yet. Do I back Heaven to break into the first team as a starter next season? I think he will start a lot of games. Whether he'd be considered a starter by the end of the season, I'd be surprised that. I think he's still a way off development. He's not Euro levels yet. He can close the distance, but I think he's still a way off it just yet. Who does this team need in its prime more? Prime Rooney or Prime Keane? Ooh. I'll take whatever you don't want. Both of them would be fantastic for us right now, wouldn't they? Both of them would be absolutely sensational. Fork says, is this a done deal for Nkunku? Fuck no. No, it's a rumour. Rashford to Leverkusen's not a bad shout. I don't know how he got on with Ten Hag. I mean, he obviously scored a lot of goals for Ten Hag, and they've obviously got money, but he probably scored a lot of goals in Germany. And that's not the craziest shout I've heard, but can they afford his wages? That would be the issue, I think. Commenter says, problem with Keane is he would lose his head and have to leave the club again. Thriller says Rooney because we can't score at the moment. Yeah. Do I think we will win the league in the next 5 years? No. I just want to see us moving closer. Just want to see us moving closer to it, to be honest. Liam says, me and my dad are coming from Perth, Australia for the Everton game next year. Any pre-match pub recommendations? Plenty. Yeah, get in town, get in Mulligan's, get in the White Lion. You know, there's loads. Depends on what you're into, doesn't it, really? Any updates on it in Buemo? So I actually do, yeah. So I've got this one here, which is United obviously submitted a fresh bid, and that's it. Closer to the valuation of Cunha, which is what Brentford are seemingly holding out for, and that's it. But yeah, in terms of that was yesterday, so there is nothing new since yesterday. Nothing new from this morning that I've seen, at least anyway. But yeah, I would expect it to be one that we get done. Maybe we're just dragging this out to get it into next month or whatever, but yeah, I think we'll get this one done. Joey says, winning the league isn't realistic in the next 10 years, I reckon. There's no patience, and only the way upwards requires building step by step. I would think in between 5 and 10. It might happen quicker, it might take a bit slower, but you're not operating in a vacuum. All the other teams are constantly evolving at the same time. They're getting better, they're getting worse, at different levels, at different rates. So it's hard to predict. It might be easy to predict that you can improve in a linear fashion yourself, but you have no idea what other teams are going to do at the same time. So that makes it incredibly difficult to figure out. Mark Ho says, my mate said Anthony at right back. Thoughts? Anthony at left back would be a better option than Anthony at right back, but no, still. I just don't want him in the mix. I think he's a fucking idiot. Ditcher says, biggest transfer hot take this year. Who will flop, who will move, or who will stay and do well? Don't know. Let me get to the end of the window and we can figure that one out maybe. Dedaraj says, do I see Tyler Fredrickson breaking in? Aiden haven't got a lot of buzz, but Fredrickson really surprised me last year with how composed he was. I actually agree with that, yeah. I was quite shocked with Fredrickson, how good he looked, and I thought his reading of the game looked at a step above Heavens, actually. I think they'll probably both play quite a lot because there's 3 centre-half spots and loads of injured centre-halves at all times. Whether or not any of them can make themselves first choice, I'd be quite surprised at, to be honest with you. Christian says we need to buy Anthony Robinson. We're not going to do that. We've got 3 left-backs or left-wing backs. We're not going to do that. Liam says, I have a horrible feeling we are not signing a striker and can't do another Hoyland season. I think we will sign a striker. I would like us to do so before pre-season starts. I don't want to be getting on the plane to America being like, why haven't we fucking sorted this out yet? But yeah, I think we'll get one. I don't know who that's going to be, but I think we will get one. Random says, why do I think Rashford doesn't want to move to a London club? No idea. How many games would I give Cheeto this season? He's very raw. He needs quite a bit to develop, I think. Falk says, what are the odds Lissandro returns from his injury, or turns from his injury form around and becomes a mainstay in the team? I would love that because I think he's captain material, to be honest with you. But yeah. Grim says, I'm looking forward to seeing young Rooney break into the team in a few years. Imagine him and Cheeto up front. Long way to go. When you're 13 and 14, there is a hell of a long way to go. You can show a bit of promise. You got to go and be undeniably like head in hands good in under 18s to think you can drag that through. Where do we finish? In all seriousness, where did Paddock finish in the Saudi League? We finished bottom of the Saudi League. We probably win no games. We probably grab a draw against a team we didn't deserve to grab a draw against after conceding 47 shots. We score 1 penalty and they scored 1 from open play, and we get a 1-1 draw, and we get relegated with the lowest points anyone's ever seen in the Saudi Prem because it'd be 1 point and 37 losses. I genuinely, I don't think people understand the levels between the levels. There's probably 3 or 4 leagues inside the Premier League. There's probably 3 or 4 leagues inside the Championship. There's a couple of leagues in League 1, League 2, National League. And the difference between a National League player and a League 2 player is a lot. And the difference between a National League player and a top League 2 player is a lot. And people that are playing Northern Prem, National League North, would look like Maradona reinvented playing against Paddock. And they're players who don't play professional football, even though a lot of people are professional at that level. Look at what Macclesfield have done. Look at the players Macclesfield have had, and they've just been in Northern Prem. I don't think people truly appreciate the depth of, certainly of English football. You can get away with playing if you played to a good standard somewhere at like Paddock level, but you get above us and you're talking like, I mean, shit, man, we've got players that, came through academies. How would we do against Auckland? Let me have a quick Google, because I don't know. I'm obviously going to just ask ChatGPT. Let me just give this a sec. So Auckland were like... I reckon they might be like National League level or something like that. I've just asked ChatGPT what's the equivalent. Apparently it's National League North and South. Maybe Northern Prem. So we would get, they'd probably 10-0 us. It would probably look, there's probably as much difference between us and Bayern as there is between them and us. Are we doing any follow-up challenge on the Stairmaster video? Curious to hear a bit more about experience with it and how do I deal with procrastination and keep doing it. I can do boring shit, so I don't mind. I do 5-6 hour hikes and I don't fucking mind. There is a video coming out maybe Friday on my trip to Turkey. I've done a follow-up podcast with Janine talking about that, and there are loads more other videos coming out as well. I just don't want to make the IRL channel just like a fitness only channel, even though it's something I'm doing quite a lot of at the moment. I want to do a bit more hiking and stuff on there, but it's one of those. MF says Cobby needs to study Busquets and Carrick. Yeah, and running. When I'm making a trip out to Wyoming to check out a ranch. Oh, it's not on the agenda at the moment. Hey, I tell you what, before we go, I was debating this yesterday. So I saw a post online. I'd be very interested in hearing people's thoughts on this. So I sent this to a couple of mates, and I would be interested in seeing what everybody else thinks about it. So I saw a post on Instagram which was like 0.1% of the world completes a marathon. 0.1% of the world can squat 2 times their body weight. 0.1% of the world can do blah, blah, blah. It was all these different things that 0.1% of the world could do. And I thought, well, how many people can do this and this and this and this and this? So I asked ChatGPT, obviously, because I fucking talk to it more than I talk to my wife. And I said, well, what would be like a 0.0001% of the world, which is like, that's like 1,000 people or less. Like, what sort of fitness standards would someone be able to do? And it come up with 8. And I was like, well, do you know what? 1,000 people, 0.0001%. I'm liking all of the sort of zeros and ones in this. Let's make it 10. So I was like, give me 10 events that would put you in this 0.0001% club, which is less than 1,000 people worldwide that could do it. Now, I've done some of these. I can't do all of these, and I think all of these would require there's probably not many people on earth that can just wake up today and go and execute all 10 of these, and that's the point. But what I'm thinking of doing is making content trying to develop this 0.0001% club as like a fitness standard. So I'll read out the 10 fitness standards, and you guys let me know what you think. So number 1, run a marathon. So I've never run a marathon. I am booked on Manchester Marathon for April next year. I could check that one off if I finish, right? Number 2, complete an Ironman 70.3. So that is a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike, and a half marathon all on the same day, right? I haven't booked on it yet, but come September 2026, I'm hoping to do Weymouth 70.3 Ironman. Swim a mile non-stop. Now, obviously, that overlaps a little bit with the Ironman because you have to swim 1.2 mile for the Ironman. So in the training for an Ironman, I would check that one off. But I've never done it. I've never swum a mile without stopping. Climb a 14er, and I've never done that. I think I could do that. And there's some pretty easy to check off ones. There's some in Colorado that are just like hikes to take you about fucking 2 hours. But something like Mont Blanc is going to take you a couple of days. You might need a guide. You need crampons and ice axes and stuff like that. 10-mile ruck, 20 kg under an hour 50. I've done that one in the past, but I haven't done that in the last few years. 2 times bodyweight squat. Deadlift 227 kg or 500 pound. I've never done that much. I've done a bit less than that, but I've never done that much. 20 pull-ups, dead hang, full range of motion. I haven't done that in about fucking 20 years. But again, you can get to that. Like, each one of these things people can do. But can you do all 10 of them? Farmer's carry with your body weight across each hand. So 50% of your body weight in each hand. I weigh 90, so that would be 45 kg in each hand for 100 meters. And a sub 20 5-kilometer run. Verified. So chat reckons that's the 0.0001% club. Less than 1,000 people on earth that could do that. Now, I think that's something worth training towards. But what do you guys reckon? Thoughts on that? EAFC Dad says, Paddock got any teams in the league near Urmston? I know Mersey Valley are in one of those leagues. I don't know what league that is. Cobby has a spark, don't sell him out. Less than 1% can bench 315, which seems way too low to me. Well, you got to think, like, there's not a lot of people bench, 225 or 100 kg. It's doable. People can do it. But you're going to have to train for it. Like, there's not many people that just wake up and can do that. You're going to have to train for it. All of those things are achievable. But doing all of those things, checking off all of those things is going to be a bit harder, isn't it? Ryan says, you need to stop using ChatGPT so much. It's not that good, and the 0.001% club is BS. More than 1,000 people on Earth could do that. Genuinely, do you think so? Can you please present me some evidence to counter that then? Because how many people have done that's the point, all 10 of those? How many people have climbed Mont Blanc? This is the point. Like, you talk about someone climbing Everest. Only 6,000 people ever have climbed Everest. And it's incredibly popular. Darren Cox says 45 kg in each hand sounds difficult. Yeah, of course, all of it's difficult. But here's the thing, it's all achievable. It's just very difficult. Adam Kenny says, like every NFL player could do this with training except for the swimming. NFL players aren't running marathons, mate. And they're not doing sub 20-minute 5Ks. And they're not climbing mountains. And they're not doing 20 strict pull-ups because they fucking weigh 300 pounds. That's the point of that, is it's a range of fitness. So, yeah, I mean, do I think an NFL player could do the deadlift? Yes. Do I think they could do the farmer's carry? Yes. Do I think they can swim a mile? Well, no. I think they struggle with that. That's the point. Norman says, swimming a mile, more than 1,000 people can do that. You're missing the point. Every single one of those things is achievable. Doing all 10 of those things, that's less than 1,000 people on Earth, is the thing. That is the whole point. It's being the person that can do all 10 of those things. There's less than 1,000 people that are doing all 10 of those things. Not saying that you can't do any of those things. Yeah, shitloads of people. Fuck me, man. There must be, 200,000-300,000 people a year run marathons. Easily. A year. Right? How many of the people that run in a marathon are also deadlifting 500 pounds? How many people that run a marathon also can do, climb a mountain? That's the point. Abhinav says, Goggins have done all of that for breakfast, but he's crazy. Goggins might have done all of those. Definitely can do the pull-ups. He's got the fucking he had the world record for pull-ups. Marathon all day long. He can definitely swim. I think he's the strongest swimmer, but he was a Navy SEAL, so he can absolutely fucking swim. He's definitely climbed mountains. What would he struggle with on that? I know he did a lot of the bike. 10-mile rucks, he'll piss that. Yeah, you're talking some Goggins shit. Squat, yeah, I know he can do the squat. Yeah. Yeah, basically he's Goggins. It's probably a fucking Saturday afternoon that for Goggins. Have I seen the lad on YouTube that's swimming the channel, cycling from France to the Himalayas, then running the base camp of Everest, then he's going to climb Everest? No. But do you know what I mean? Fucking sensational. Go on, lad. Abhinav says it's the Goggins challenge. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe that's what it needs to be called. Pinch Gero says I'd happily get through the anxiety of walking onto a gym floor without a fucking mental breakdown. How tall am I? I'm 5'10". CTB says the guys in the NFL couldn't run a marathon, but my 50-year-old mum can. This is the thing, yeah. And like, but can your 50-year-old mum deadlift 500 pound? This is the point. This is where, like, you know, like your mum might be able to do. She might be able to bang out fucking 20 pull-ups. I don't know, but that's one of those. It's that's what makes it interesting to me, at least, anyway. Because I think that's a real range of fitness, and that's what excites me. I want to be able to do. I want a mate of mine to say, "Do you want to do a Tough Mudder tomorrow?" And I can go, "Yes." Or, "Do you want to run a 10K tomorrow?" Yes. "Do you want to do? Let's go climb a mountain this afternoon?" Yes. That's the sort of fitness I'm interested in getting in. You know, I don't want to look fucking absolutely jacked out of my mind, and I don't want to be a marathon runner and only be a marathon runner. I'd like that range of fitness. That's what's interesting to me. Where do I rank pro wrestlers as athletes? I don't rank pro wrestlers as athletes. I rank them as actors. They're absolutely jacked and tanned out of their fucking mind, and what they do is athletic, but so is scaffolding. And it's not a sport. Liam says to build up to a 500-pound deadlift takes time and builds a level of muscle that stops you managing the cardio. It was like if it was to do each of those in the same calendar year. Yeah, I don't know. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think that, again, this is why I think it's doable. But I think even just from a logistics point of view, it's going to take you a long fucking time just to check all of those things off. Caleb, how many stages of the Tour de France do I reckon I could do? Fucking none. Not unless I'm allowed to come last, like embarrassingly last, then yeah, maybe I could fucking do one of them. But yeah. Adam says, most guys in the NFL could run a marathon. I don't know if they can. Most guys in the NFL can run a marathon is a hell of a statement. And again, can climb a mountain. Yeah, most people can climb a mountain. Have you climbed a mountain, though? A 4,000 meter one? That's the difference, isn't it? Joey says, do it within a calendar year would make sense. Maybe that's the mooch, yeah. John says, if you had the money spare, would I climb Everest, or is that something that doesn't interest you? No, Everest has become a bit of a fucking cliche almost, hasn't it? Like, the queue at the top, I hate queuing at the best of times. Queuing when I'm literally fucking dying is not exciting to me. It cost 100 grand. I could think of so many better uses of that money than checking the box. There's a good handful of mountains over 8,000 meters that aren't Everest, that are climbable. K2's the one, I think. That's a real fucking struggle. By the sounds of it, Everest is a fucking hike with some dire consequences because of the queuing. And it just takes a long fucking time to do. But there's that many ropes and ladders and stuff in the way that you'll do it. You just got to fucking go through the motions of doing it. K2 requires a little bit of skill. That's probably a bit more appealing, I think. Previn says, as a former college footballer, no, most guys in NFL can't run a marathon. It's not a skill set they trained for. And again, that's the thing is, I think they probably could. A lot of them, maybe not your fucking linebackers and stuff. And ultimately, that's the point. That's why that 0.0001% club it's fucking difficult to do. Yeah. Dean says, after the Sancho saga, I don't want to see us do dealings with Chelsea again. We don't need another number 10. We need a striker, and Nkunku doesn't play best as a striker. I can roll with that. Court says there's no way offensive and defensive linemen are running a marathon. They're massive. Yeah. Plus 12 says, I've been up to 42.15 and that's tough. The altitude makes everything harder. Yeah, I believe there's a handful of mountains, at least a few, in Colorado that you can kind of do like a 5 or 6 mile walk and you're at 4,500 meters. Mont Blanc is entirely different. Like, I think you need a guide and things like that to do it. Bar Matic, have we ever had a successful purchase from Chelsea? Not a club that we do a lot of dealings with, is it? Matter? We got him from Chelsea, didn't we? Deadbug says, the more time passes on, the more I feel like Vlahovic will be the answer for the number 9 and wouldn't grumble too. I think he could do a job. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there, mate. I think Vlahovic would be the one. Caleb says the Appalachian Trail is brutal if you go the whole way. Isn't it like 2,000 miles? 1,700 miles? Something absolutely fucking bananas like that. Doesn't it cover like 4 or 5 states? Adam says, yes, they could. NFL players will sprint faster than you and run for longer. Professional athletes. Do you know any NFL players? I personally don't know any NFL players, no. However, I do understand mass. And dudes that are 250 pounds aren't regularly running marathons, right? And it doesn't matter if they're a professional athlete. Shot putters are professional athletes. They're not running marathons. Can they shot put stuff really far? Yeah. Don't confuse ability in one domain with ability in other domains. Simple as that. Professional footballers are professional athletes. They are not deadlifting 500 pounds, right? And I'm talking European footballers, not American footballers. Phil says, do the Dragonback race north to South Wales, looks mint. So one of the fittest blokes I know attempted that, and he failed it. He failed it day 1 or 2, failed to make one of the checkpoints. Because of the mountains he was climbing, he got down to 1 mile an hour was his average pace. And he's one of the fittest dudes I know. And that, for me, went, I don't know if I'm ever going to even fucking attempt that because he fucked it up. But yeah. Harry says, being a strong runner tends to aid performance across other sports. No, I think a strong runner would be a strong swimmer if they had basic technique. Yeah, but so look at like Kipchoge, right? The strongest of strong runners. Is he deadlifting 500 pound? Is he rucking with 20 kg under? I mean, he could absolutely do the pace, but can he handle the load? This is the thing. Mikhail says, Luke Littler's a pro athlete. Yep. Purple Anthem says, come to Oman. Do you know what? I've been to Oman. I absolutely loved Oman. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely fantastic place. It was the hottest place I've been to as well. Technically, it was about 12, 13 degrees cooler than Afghanistan. Afghanistan got to 56 degrees Celsius. Oman was like mid-40s. But I don't know why Oman felt way more intense. Like, I was just burning every single day in Oman. Ian says, hope you well. Enjoy the USA trip. If you're stopping in Ireland on the way, I'll buy you a pint. We are in Ireland for the Oasis gig in August. Steve says, been to both of those too. Totally agree. Don't know what that was in relation to. CTB says, running and swimming do correlate. They're both cardio, but it takes away from strength after a certain level. That's why I find the CrossFit Games very interesting. And High Rocks is more of a running event, I guess, but I do find all those hybrid sports very interesting. I do enjoy watching them and that as well. Oh, Afghan and Oman. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Afghanistan is like by the thermometer hotter, but by reality, a lot more manageable in terms of the heat than Oman. Oman was like such a blazing intensity. It's a fucking beautiful country, Oman. We went to a place called Salalah. We had a barbecue in a place called Salalah on the beach. Beautiful little cove. Got in the water. It's like being in a fucking bath, lads. Never got in the sea and it been warm. And I mean, not like, oh, that's quite warm for the sea. No, I'm talking fucking warm. And the reason for that was because it was like really, really shallow water for like 100 meters. It was like shin height. So it was like this really, really shallow water. I was just getting baked by the sun. So you got in it. It was like getting in a fucking bath. Never experienced anything like it in my fucking life. Stephen says, I'm doing EDL Skyline again this summer. I could do with doing it before I go to America again. Because by the time I get back from America, you're talking middle of August, and I am less than a month away from doing the Smithy Bullock. So I'm doing an ultra with my mate in September. Like, I absolutely need to do EDL Skyline again. I need to do it with Janine. She's going to fucking batter me if I do it without her again. Adam Kenny says, I'm not defending NFL players from Steve, but from y'all. This forum doesn't realise the athletes of NFL players. Fastest ones are Usain Bolt level. The slowest guys are the fastest guy from your high school. Look, NFL is a representation of some quite explosive athletics for the most part. Your wide receivers they are world-class sprinters. Being a world-class sprinter doesn't translate into being a marathon runner. Being a world-class sprinter doesn't translate into being able to ruck. It doesn't translate into being able to climb mountains. And most people in the NFL are linemen. I think that's the most common position, right? Your wide receivers, your running backs, there's fewer of them. Do I think your kickers could run marathons? Yeah, no doubt, no danger. There's a guy called Jake Shum that I follow on socials. That cunt could probably do half of that list. But he's not common. Which 3 United players are running the quickest marathon? Bruno, Ugarte, Euro maybe. Everyday Same says, why do you say generally all the time? Because people are fucking thick. And you have to quantify any statement. Because on the internet, people love... sound bites that are definitive, but life isn't definitive. Everything's a shade of grey. Kurt says Usain Bolt isn't running marathons by that logic. Usain Bolt isn't running mucky marathons, man. You mad? Like, what's the most he's ever run in his life? Probably about a K. Am I heading to the US tour? Yes. Gary Isaac says, not Bruno. Why don't you think Bruno? Bruno's got one of the most ridiculous engines in our team. You don't think Bruno could run a marathon? I think he could fucking bang out a marathon today. Running a marathon, who goes down injured first, me or Luke Shaw? Well, considering I'm injured right fucking now, probably me. Lee says, pretty fast kilometre though. Yeah, no doubt. I absolutely think Usain Bolt could run a fast kilometre. Could he do a fast 5? Probably. I don't know if he'd do a 10 though. Would I still support United if a state bought the club? I think I'd find it very difficult too. You should go and check out U-505 in Chicago for IRL. It's one of the few captured German U-boats from World War II. Yeah, please let me know. There's stuff like this I need to go and have a look at. Because I'm very interested in all that sort of stuff that I can go do while we're in the States. Absolutely. John says, has the podcast with my mate Jay been released yet? Been looking out for it. I believe Monday. Sean Ryan show, Monday. So keep an eye out for that one. Andy Ray says, Alan Brazil ran a marathon in Adidas Samba. All pro footballers could. I actually agree. I think the vast majority of professional footballers could. They're doing 10, 15 kilometres a game. It's not much more to carry on and finish a marathon for them. Roasted says, if it was a sprint from the King's Head to the Silly Country, it'd be hard to find someone that could beat me. Fair play. Lee says, you're in a 2-person man versus food contest to eat the entire Greg's menu in half an hour. Is Luke Shaw my partner? Oh, God. Do I see China's micro drones? Yeah. The drone technology and stuff like that is fascinating as it is absolutely terrifying, isn't it? Anyways, right, I'm going to check it out from here. Either way, cheers for tuning in, everyone. Back tomorrow with whatever we're back with. I don't even know what that's going to be just yet, but we'll be back either way. So let's hope there's some updates. Take it easy. Let me know the places I need to go in the comments after this ends. Alabama, New York, Atlanta, Chicago. We're covering all of those this summer. So let me know the places I need to go. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.